What was disc golf like for you when you first got into disc golf? Was it really popular in your town or was it pretty much non-existent? In today's episode of the Chain Clankers Disc Golf Podcast, we sit down with Chris Smith, who is a legend here in the Wichita area, and he shows us how he went from being in a town with virtually no disc golf and how you can have a successful disc golf career coming from somewhere where disc golf is not very popular. He shows us the behind the scenes of dynamic discs. When they first got started, he discusses why he switched over to dynamic discs when they started making discs from other very popular manufacturers. Chris shares with us some of the reasons that he has made Wichita his home and why he has made this community so incredible. He explains how he's built his team, how he's built his brand, how he has done all that he has done running the tournaments here in town, and he shares with us how you can also find your success in disc golf, and it doesn't always have to be by being the best disc golfer. Even though Chris has a ton of wins under his belt, he shows us that disc golfers just like you and me can have success in this game for many, many years. Before we get into today's episode, make sure you head over to patreon.com/chainclankers, link in the description. Make sure you check it out. You could join us on a podcast. You could get some awesome merch and some awesome value. We would love to have your guys' support over there as it helps us improve what we are doing and upgrade our equipment, which we're trying to do. So we would definitely appreciate all that you can give us over there. But let's sit down with Chris Smith right now.
I'm Chris Smith, and you're listening to the Chain Clankers podcast.
Alrighty, everyone, super excited for this episode. We've got a true winner on our podcast today, a man with over 60 sanctioned wins and probably over 150 unsanctioned wins. Chris Smith, how are we doing tonight, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are very excited to have you on here. We've been talking about getting you on the show for quite a while, so looking forward to this conversation for sure.
So I kind of want to start off with, in Wichita, I feel as though you're one of the big DD ambassadors, right? So when I think of dynamic discs in Wichita, I kind of think of you to start off, and especially all the events and Hyzernauts and all those things that are going on. So can you maybe kind of start this episode off with, how'd you first kind of get into disc golf and how'd you get affiliated with dynamic discs?
I started playing disc golf in 1993. After cross-country practice, my buddies and I would just go and play for something else to do. And then I got my first teaching job in a really small western Kansas town and just kind of put the discs away. And we went to the state track meet in 97 and came home, and there was a disc golf course right across the street from my house. So pretty much since then, my life's kind of revolved around disc golf, I guess.
Yeah, it makes sense. So where was this course that you moved across the street from?
Ransom, Kansas. So
Ransom, Kansas.
If you know where Hayes is, it's 45 miles on west of Hayes. I had no idea why or how or for what reason. We just came home and pulled into my driveway, and there it was. So
that's awesome. Is the course still up?
Oh yeah, there's only when I moved there was 352 people in the whole town. It's probably less than that now, and the baskets are still there. They still run a tournament there. For about 10 years we ran a tournament there, and we never got more than 30 people, so it was just too far to travel. And at that time, not every tournament filled up in a week.
Right. Shoot, nowadays they fill up in about 6 hours. At least the Hyzernaut Smitty tournaments do.
Yeah, all the Wichita tournaments have really been filling out. It's just a really cool thing that we have going on, I think, to offer that many they're PDJ events, but they're still casual. They're just C tiers. There's not a lot of there's no added cash to them, and no have to be a member rules and all that. So it's just crazy. And nearly everybody's a member when they play, which is really crazy.
And so, how does that feel now? I'll take the one that's coming up, the Millbrook tournament. at least for me, since I'm not going to be able to play Cessna, I'll be out of this country when that's going on. And so for me, the next one is Millbrook. And I was moving on the day that the sign-ups was supposed to happen. And Trent, I think you were 88 out of 90, and I was 91 out of 90. I got in the next morning, so everything is good. We'll be there. But, like, that's got to be so exciting, right? Because I don't know how it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, how difficult it was to fill up those tournaments. And now it's like, boom, day one, there's no risk. I know it's going to fill. I know there's going to be a wait list. That's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, it's crazy. This will be our third year we've done Millbrook, and we did fill the previous 2 years. The first year we were just kind of creeping along. We got stuck at like 45 or 50, and Garrett sent me a picture of the artwork that he had done for the disc, and I posted it. And as soon as we posted that, the painting that he had done, the thing just skyrocketed and filled. And last year, I think we had a full house at 90 people, but it filled right away. It was a week or two, and then this year, I was warning people that this baby's going to fill, it's going to fill, and I think it was 4 hours. That's what we filled up in. So, and everybody in town everybody on this side of town loves that course, and it's growing into something pretty cool. So that helps.
Yeah, that course is fun right now, and I think it's going to be something special. I mean, well, I'll be honest, it's not the most difficult course. Granted, you can put the pins in long, and it gets a lot harder. But when those trees grow, if you're not from around here, there's a bunch of newer trees. I don't know how old they are because, let's face it, I don't know how fast trees grow. I know it takes a long time. But when those trees get bigger, that course is going to be nice and challenging.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great.
And
but
when they planted those, I think probably 8 years maybe. It was before I moved to town. But I'm pretty sure Bill Paulson went out and said, this is where we need them, and lined the fairways. They put the course in and then lined the fairways with the trees, which is opposite of how it normally happens.
I want to talk about your kind of connection with dynamic discs, because the old baskets at Millbrook in particular were not the best, but you were really with the initiative of getting veterans out there, and you're connected to dynamic discs. Can you go into some background about how you first got sponsored and connected with them?
Yeah, I was on Team Discraft for a lot of years. Eric McCabe, good buddy, showed up to a tournament with a dynamic disc sweatshirt. I remember it was blue and red. And we got to talking, and he said, well, yeah, this is an upstart company in Emporia. I didn't know Rusco at the time. And then over the next, few months of Dee kind of becoming something out of Rusco's trunk, basically, I met Rusco, and then we started promoting tournaments together, and I used to go all over the place with those guys to Texas and whatever. And I really feel like in the early days, if Rusco was smart to work with me, because I'm always trying to do something. I can never just sit idly. I have to go and find something to do. And we would promote tournaments and go to tournaments, and I'd always have the job of running the Ring of Fire and kind of being the hype man, I guess. At that time, I was a little bit different character 10 years ago than I am now. But yeah, and then he just hit me up one day and said, well, we're going to start making discs. Well, that's cool. And, I didn't know where I was going to go. I loved the discs that I had. And, ultimately, thinking back to it, I knew all companies make great discs. And even today, especially, you can find the same disc at pretty much any company, but I believed in Rusco and what Dee was going to do, so it was just a no-brainer just to, leave the old and jump right in with the new.
Right about when do you think that transition happened? Like, was it, obviously it was early, or sounds like even before technically Dee was really a thing, but like, through your career, how many years did you play with Discraft, and then when did you transition into DD and Trilogy, I guess?
When I played the Amateur World Championships in 2003, I was through All Innova at that point. Then Eric got picked up by Discraft, and we played around at the Frizz, and he gave me I think it was a Wasp. I don't think the Buzz was out yet, but he gave me a Wasp and said, here, try this out. And I did, and then, I wanted to support Eric. So I started throwing more and more discraft, and eventually, like people do, I mean, we'll come back to a bag disc selection, all that, and later if we want, but I just slowly transitioned into more and more discraft discs, and then started playing tournaments and doing great and winning, and went to I think the tournament that really got me on discraft was played an A tier at Zebo's, and at that time every tournament did a final 9, and I played in the final 9 with a few people you may have heard of, Barry Schultz, Jay Redding, and Nolan Greider, and I were all in the final 9. It was cool. It was you were paired up with a woman, so the fourth place man had the top woman and on down the list, and you just played doubles.
Right.
And I remember Carrie Berlager was my partner, and she threw us close, and I made a putt on the last hole, and we made like, I don't know, $500 or $600 in skins, and it was at that point that Eric was like, yeah, and talking to the discraft people and got me hooked up. So, and then DD was more of an apparel company and did dyes and ran tournaments and kind of like Ducks, you know, they're a brand, but they didn't have their own stuff. So
right.
we had, at one point, he had the most killer team ever. He had Yuli, and he had Nico, and he had both Pauls, and Kale was on the team. I can remember just hanging out in his basement with all those guys, just hanging out and having fun.
That's sweet. That was with Team DD? Or
Yeah, those guys
DD?
were all Team DD.
Nice.
And then I think that maybe Innova didn't like the fact Paul was on another team, so he was kind of the first one to branch off, and then everybody else just kind of went their own way with the whole Prodigy expansion deal happened, and they all went one way, and then DD started manufacturing discs, and now you see where they're at. It just...
So once DD started actually manufacturing discs, was it a pretty quick turnaround for you to be like, yeah, I'm going to set those Discraft discs aside. These discs are on another level. Like, how quick was the transition for you?
It was tough, actually, at first, because two reasons. Number one, the Trilogy lineup didn't have a disc overstable enough for Kansas. You'd try to play in some of the windy days, and you couldn't do it. And Tomas, the guy that designs all the discs, didn't believe anything that people told him. He was like, if a Giant isn't stable enough, then you're the problem, is what he thought. And the mid-range lineup was it. I couldn't find anything that would work. DD had the Fugitive, which didn't cut it, and I tried the Core, the Warship, all of that, and in Kansas, most of the courses that we play, you have to have a good mid-range game because that's the length of the holes. So they came out with the Verdict, and that was what turned into the Truth, or however that all worked out. And now our mid-range lineup is fantastic. And funny thing is, the Suspect was one of DD's first discs, and I felt it like, oh yeah, this is a zone, and it's not. Nothing near the zone. So I threw it for a while, and then I just put it back on the shelf and didn't throw it. And then later I tried it, and just with the attitude of, this is its own disc. You see what it can do. And now it's my favorite disc to throw around the greens, up shots, whatever, just because it's so stable, or just so straight and predictable. And the one in my bag is from the first 5 or 6 discs Rusco sent me. It's an old blue first ring.
Wow.
So yeah. But then Tomas came over for the GBO at that time, and it was a lot like it was this year at the DDO, where crazy wind.
Insane.
Yeah, and he understood. Oh, these guys are right. They need something better, and that's when the Stiletto came out, and now all three branches of the company have something super overstable you can use. So was the change easy? Driver wise, yes. Putter wise, yeah. But mid range game was tough.
Yeah, I've got one on my back wall over here that I used to throw a lot more in Manhattan before I came here, but I'm interested to try the Culprit. The Culprit seems kind of like, I don't know, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't necessarily like how the slammer fits in my hand, and I think the culprit is kind of that in between the harp and suspect maybe, or if like I want to go for another company like a zone, more of a zone-ish kind of disc, or I don't know. I'm really interested to try the culprit out for sure. I think that could be a really good one.
Yeah, the intentions with it were to be between the suspect and the justice. It's kind of
Okay.
that slot, so kind of less than the harp, but yeah. So I've haven't even thrown one yet.
Gotcha. Was there a
Okay.
moment in the beginning, maybe when there were no overstable discs or the mids really weren't that good, where you were thinking to yourself, I have made a mistake coming to dynamic disc. I need to find a way to get back to discraft. Did that thought ever cross your mind?
Now, I mean, knowing that Tomas and those guys are designing discs, and it disc golf's like any other industry, it's kind of a copycat world. So if somebody has something, then the other guy is going to make a better version, which whatever that means. So,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, the giant is what I threw at first for an overstable slot, and most days it was enough. You could work with it.
Yeah, now we have what, the felons, there's the stiletto,
Stiletto, the
the raider,
enforcer, the
enforcer.
adder. There's so many just overstable
Ricky
discs.
puts
Yeah.
his name on a disc,
The adders,
and all of
I've
a
thrown that
sudden
once.
it's three times more stable than what it was, and yeah, the adder, I think Play It Again had so many misprint adders, and I was like, good luck getting people to buy those, because that is an overstable disc. That is not
Yeah, that
something I
thing's
think a lot of
beef.
people are going to come in and grab, especially at like Trent and I's level. Like I know I cannot throw an adder, so yeah, I hope.
We're just the average dude that walks into Play It Again Sports and wants to try
Yeah.
disc golf, and here this one's half the price of the rest. I'll take that. And maybe they'll come back. Maybe it'll be not as much fun because their buddies are out throwing them by one and a half times.
Yeah.
But
Right.
So, what does your relationship with Dynamic look like now? For those who maybe don't know you, you run a ton of tournaments, you're active in the community all the time, play in tournaments, picking up wins all the time. Luke, I know Lucas came out with a hot
Dominate.
statistic about your win rate this year. So, like, what is your relationship with them looking like right now, and kind of what are your goals with Dynamic?
that's a great question, man. Things have changed a lot in Emporio over the last 8 years. At the very beginning, it was like I would talk to Rusco 2 or 3 times a week, and it was a real close knit, tight family, and I knew everything that was going to happen. Over the last few years, it's just so big now that when I go to the warehouse, I don't know anybody. Nobody there really knows who I am. I'm not Ricky, so I'm
Right.
just some old guy wandering around the lobby. So that part, that part's kind of disheartening to go there and just not have that connection. But you know, if I ever need anything, I can send an email or call or contact whoever, and they'll go out of their way to make sure that things are good.
Hey, and give yourself a little more credit. Some old guy who's won 6 out of his last 7 tournaments. Oh, and the 7th tournament got 2nd place. Come on now.
I just get lucky a lot.
Getting
I don't
lucky.
know if it's luck, but I'll take get lucky if that's
Whatever your
what's
good
gonna
luck
happen
charm is,
for
I
me.
need some of that because that is, I mean, that's an incredible run. I mean, it's got to feel great, especially when you got young kids like Nolan who ended up on lead card at DDO, and then you can come back and be competitive and beat him in tournaments, and everyone else in town. I mean, I know there's a fan question talking about the King of Kansas, so maybe let's just kind of get into that now. What is the King of Kansas, and maybe how did you get that title?
I don't know that I really have that title. If I was to play Nolan on the DDO courses, he would destroy me. I just don't have a chance off the tee. But the rest of the game, I can compete with that. So around here, I can I can throw far enough to reach the holes and have a putt or whatever. But those big courses, I just wouldn't have a chance. Like, Worlds is in Emporia in just a couple of months, and people have asked me if I'm going to play, but there's just, it would just be a dumb decision for me because I would be a mid-packer probably at best. But what's the king of Kansas? I mean, I have won 5 state titles, tied with Ron Converse on that. He's from Oklahoma though, so that doesn't count. I think Crispin has won multiple too, but played a lot of tournaments all around Kansas, mostly from Salina west. I don't go east very often, but there's a lot of people that are really, really good at this game now. At any tournament or any place you go, every town you go, everybody is just awesome at disc golf. And to be the king of Kansas, I think you just have to play a lot of KDJ events. And I don't know who the next one is. Hopefully me for a while longer.
Yeah, there you go. The humbleness is definitely there. But yeah, it's awesome. I like you said, playing tournaments all over the place, and then you also touched on like the skills of everybody, just how good everybody is, and even on like the pro tour level. I've only really been paying attention to it for a couple of years, but like I feel like I've noticed it a lot this year where not to get too much into pro tour talk, but just in general, like the amount of like people, I mean, you still have your Simons, you still have your Rickies and all those guys, but the amount of people that just kind of show up or are always near the top that are not necessarily those big name guys is incredible.
When I first started playing, you knew Ken Kleinman was going to win Worlds. 12 world titles. That'll never happen ever again because everybody's good. I don't know if you guys have watched any of the videos and media from Am Worlds, but that kid that won Am Worlds, Paul Cran or something, that is the best form I've ever seen. It's phenomenal, and I watched him at the U.S. AMs, him and the foot fault call or whatever. Mm-hmm. Those guys are so good. 7-hole playoff, and I don't know if they had any putts inside the circle during that playoff. It was awesome, and
yeah,
I think that's probably attributed to YouTube world. When I was first starting to learn how to play, I just had to go and figure it out and try to watch people in town. And when that little town got the first course, the best player in town was a flicker. He could flick a dolphin. I don't know if you guys know what a dolphin is, but that was his driver. Mm-hmm. So I started flicking, and then we had a tournament come to town, and the best players there flicked because they were all semi-local. So I thought, yeah, this is what you do. This is how you play it. And then I went to the Rock in Salina, and first hole, all 3 people in front of me tee off backhand, and I'm just like, dude, what the heck? So right at that point, I just left everything that I'd done to that point and started throwing backhand at this tournament. That's how I played in college, but then, I see these guys flicking. So I didn't flick for a long time because nobody did. But, now you watch any tournament and you understand that you have to throw both ways to compete. Unless you're James Conrad or some incredible specimen like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about kind of your own personal brand and the Hyzernauts. Can you maybe talk to me a little bit? What is that for people who don't know? How did it get started? And yeah, where are we at with that right now?
The name Hyzernaut came from DVDs, actually, that used to be disc golf. They were a disc golf company called Hyzernauts out of Germany. And they were one of the first groups that put out quality not DVDs. Did I say DVDs? VHS tapes. Let's go back a few more years. Do you even know what that is, Quentin?
I do. Know what a VHS tape. You got the very thick film or whatever, and you got to put it in. I was very young, but yes, I do remember for the first couple years of life having to put those in. And then I think about the time I got 8 or 10 and I could actually start thinking for myself a little bit, I think that's when DVDs kind of took over. But yes, I have
Yeah,
an idea of what you're talking
right.
about.
Yeah. So they put out videos and they were great, and you know we would watch them and go on about our business, and then I didn't think about them for a long time, and my good buddy Brandon Nelson and I, the Swede, designed a little course in Heston at this camp type deal, and we needed a name, so we called it Hyzernaut Farms. Kind of like a little, we just thought it was a catchy name, and it was a really cool course. We spent a lot of time, we had a lot of pride in it. And then Crispin made us a disc design for the Hyzernaut course. And then I thought, I'm going to run some tournaments. I'm just going to use that name to kind of promote the tournament, promote the event, and I could get custom stamped discs that would look a heck of a lot cooler than stock stamp discs. So I just kind of ran with it, and that's where it's at. The Hyzernauts are still going in Germany. I've tried to contact them a couple of times, and I never get anything back. And people hit me up all the time. There's Hyzernaut things that pop up all over. There's one in Detroit that his big thing is memes. I wish he would not do his memes because I don't find them funny. Yeah, so that's kind of where that came from, and I just use it as a way to get tournament discs and get discs to promote leagues and do whatever we do with them.
Right, and I will say the name is sweet, so I I really like it, and the merch is sweet. I got your shirt on now, or one of them. And no, so I've also seen you're starting to well, you have a little team. You don't promote it too much, but you have a little group of guys and youngsters that you're promoting. So could you talk a little bit about your team and kind of your squad and kind of what you're just, I guess just go over
for
that
sure.
a little bit.
One of the first people I kind of sponsored was Ethan Shands. He was out of Hayes. He was a really young kid at this time, and he was playing Am Worlds in Emporia. So he was the first person I picked up. And then I picked up a guy out of Concordia. He was on our team for a few years. He's not with us anymore on our team. And now I have a Chase Boyd, who, when I go to a tournament and Chase is there, it just, man, makes my day so much easier. He just does so many things, without ever being asked. He just can see that it needs to be done and gets it done. And I've got Craig Winters, who's the same way. If he's at a tournament with me and helping me run it, and that allows me to be able to run it and play. Without them there, I couldn't. I would just have to run the tournament because there's too many things pulling you one way or the other. So I got those guys, those three. And then just recently, I'm pumped about these guys. I got both Taylor boys, Jackson and Canton. So if you've been at Millbrook, you've seen those two. Canton's a 500-foot bomber, and Jackson he flicks everything, and it's so fun.
Did you say 500 foot?
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's getting close to it. Yeah,
Wow.
he crushes, and I think he's
That's awesome.
14. So
I've seen him play. I didn't realize he threw that far. That's amazing.
man, every time I play with him, he birdies hole 8 at Millbrook, which is
Okay.
4 bills plus, and he gets it on a hyzer. So, yeah, he may not hit 500. 500 is a long ways out there, but he can put a move on a disc. And then I got the Davenport kids, Josiah and Gideon, and good gravy, man. Those guys, their form and their knowledge of the game is it's just nuts. So, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen this kids versus bigs things that I'm trying to promote this weekend for those guys. Kind of a champs versus chumps deal. I think those kids are gonna really, really shock some people when they get drawn up, because Gideon and Jackson are so tiny, but so good, so good. A lot of it's gonna fall back on some of the longer holes if Canton and Josiah can get them off the tee, but 4 against 2, I like their odds.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's really exciting. And it's also exciting to see the participation in the youth of the game because they're obviously the next ones. They're going to be, maybe one of them are going to be the next king of Kansas, and they're going to get 7 Kansas titles. Or you know what I'm saying? So that's got to be super exhilarating. When did you kind of start those conversations with them and their parents and all that?
Jackson was going to Junior Worlds in Emporia, so I got him a few shirts and just kind of stamped them up. I have a heat press and put my logo on them. You know, gave him 2 or 3 shirts and gave Canton a couple so he could wear them because Canton didn't get to play last year. I don't remember what happened. Maybe he didn't have enough points or something or cap on his division. But he didn't get to play, so I hooked them up and I went down there to watch them, and every single one of those kids was decked out, looked the part, you know, polo shirts. It was crazy, and those dang kids are good.
Right.
So, you know, I've been tinkering with those 2 guys for a while. I just have bumped into them at Millbrook, and they're there as often as I am. So, you know, I talk to their dad Kyle all the time, and we play rounds together. And then Josiah and Gideon, I've just really gotten to know those guys this year, pretty much. And I didn't play in Derby. I was just running the tournament. We had too many people and too many weird things that could go on. And I just watched those guys play. And they would come in after the round, and I'd ask them, hey, how'd it go? And before they could answer my question, some adult would be like, man, these kids, they smoked us. I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
and Gideon came up to me, and he said something along the lines of, I contacted Discraft and tried to get on the team, this, that, and the other. And he said, I told him that I really like the Hyzernaut brand and this, and then it just kind of ended at that. Nothing was done. So I thought, you know, I'm gonna try to help these guys. I can't do too much. I can help them out with some discs and help them out with shirts and help them promote themselves. But I just came home from work one day and wrote all 4 of them a letter, hand wrote it. First time I had written a full page letter in who knows how long. I didn't want it to go to him typed. I didn't want it to look like that. And I just mailed it to him. I tried to make a cool looking watermark on the paper. You know, I tried to hide the logo in the background. And I mailed it to him, and I waited and I waited, and I didn't hear anything, so I didn't know if I mailed them to the wrong addresses. And then the Davenports called me up. Well, first Jim sent me an email. Got 2 excited young men that would like to talk to you. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. So we chit-chatted for a little bit, and they were all about it. And then the next day, I saw that same night, Kyle wanted to get a Mako 3 for Canton. So I didn't want to ruin the surprise. So I'm like, yeah, I've got one. So I sold him a Mako 3 at full price. I felt so bad. Full price. And then, you know, this letter's in the mail somewhere between my house and theirs. I didn't want to give it to him. I wanted him to get something in the mail. And the next day is when they contacted me. So that was really cool the way that all worked out. I probably should go give him back some of his money for that disc.
That would be exciting. I can't imagine being that age. I mean, I just started picking up disc golf, but even like back then I was, you know, every other kid. I want to play in the Major League Baseball or NFL or whatever, and having something like that would have made my day. And I'm sure they love playing already, so you just probably added even more fuel to the fire, and that's really exciting to see, to see where they go from here and over the next 5-10 years. So
Since then, they've only been like part of the team for like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe. I'm not sure how long it's been, but the 4 of them and their families have gotten together multiple times. They've went to Hutchison and played at Orchard Park, and they've sent me some videos and scorecards and stuff. And they played. I think they played out at Bel Air together, and then just yesterday they were at Oak Park practicing for the Kids versus Bigs. So it's just awesome, the friendship that I think those 4 dudes are gonna build. all of my best friends are disc golf people that I've met playing disc golf over the last however long it's been. So, hope that's probably going to be a couple of their best friends.
Man, that's awesome stuff. You got some awesome connections. You're building a great little team. You're building friendships for life, just like disc golf, exactly what it's all about. Those kids are going to be on the pro tour one day, I'm sure of it. And can't wait to see how it goes. Maybe they'll be still rocking a little Hyzernaut stamped hat or a Hyzernaut hat on their head in that day.
We can only hope.
From the little old man in Kansas.
That's funny. Cool. Well, hey, I think we're in a great spot to transition to some fan questions. We got a lot of them. I think some awesome stories are going to come up with them. So let's go ahead and let's transition to the fan questions. Thank you, guys. We posted this on, I believe, our Facebook group as well as the Wichita one. So if you're not in our Facebook group, make sure you head over there. Also, for being in our Facebook group, you get access to the Wednesday YouTube video early. So, I mean, that's another perk, as well as just the continuous building of that community and interact with other people. So I want to start off with this question here from Ronnie Unruh. With so many wins, you must have seen both sides of winning and losing several times. What is the most memorable comeback and most memorable collapse you've ever experienced in a tournament or competition?
My favorite finish of all time. It wasn't a comeback. It was just a really pressure-filled shot that I can still remember. We were playing it was the semifinals of the Masters Worlds, and Shasta Chris, Johnny McRae were ahead of me by a couple, so they were going to be in. And then it was myself and Chris Sprague and a dude named Ken Climo trying to get in. And I threw my drive on hole 4 at Peter Pan. And it was in the long position. I don't know if you've played that hole, but it's a 2-shot hole. And I threw my drive, and it got over left into the bushes a little bit. And Kenny was going to get in, I felt like, if I couldn't get up and down. So I went in there and stretched out and stood out to the side and threw a felon, a Seafoam Glow felon on an Anheuser flick. And it was a competitive greatness, doing your best at the most important time, and that thing just flexed right over and just absolutely parked it. And I can still remember looking across the fairway at Ken Climo and Patrick Brown, and just to see both of their heads just go like that, I was like, that's it right there. That's why you practice all these times, just for that shot. So that's my favorite. Wasn't a win, but my most awesome probably shot and accomplishment. And then my worst defeat, one time at the state championships, I just lit up the first round. I mean, I smoked it in Beloit. And Alan Wilson is the guy's name. He's from Emporia. He's a good buddy. We call him the Sloth because he was slow before slow was cool. And came off the course, and I was feeling it, and he could tell. And he said to me, "You can't win it in the first round, but you can sure lose it." And he was right. I didn't win it, but I ended up, I didn't lose it the first round, but I sure as heck didn't win it either. And I ended up not bringing home the state championship after a round that should have probably finished it right there. So that's the worst defeat.
Was it your confidence was a little too high and you were too relaxed, or just the second round just wasn't going your way?
It was 4 rounds. The state championship is always 4 rounds. And I'm guessing I had too much fun at the pool and the campgrounds the Saturday night. Probably had a little bit to do with it.
Yeah, that'll get you every time.
Sometimes.
Yeah, maybe not every time, but a lot of the times. All right. Your man Chase Boyd had a pretty good question. You just talked about it a little bit, so I could assume potentially this person might be on this. But what would be a dream card for you to play with?
This is a good question. This is a really good question because we used to always say we used to call it our 5. There was a group of us, and we would talk, and we'd always talk about our 5. And there's a lot of people that could be in my 5 for sure. I mean, I've played with a lot of people, and I've got a lot of good friends that I play disc golf with. But my number 1 would be easy. That's Brendan Hickman, he used to live in Ponca City and play all the KDJ events, and he now lives in Colorado, so we never see him. But just the vibe with Hickman is just always awesome. He was just a really good dude, and I haven't talked to him in a month of Sundays, but I guarantee if I bumped into him somewhere, it would be like we just saw each other yesterday. So he would be one of them. Downtown Randy Brown. I think you guys heard his name maybe on your last podcast,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
I think it came up. He's from Salina. Just the same thing. Just an awesome, awesome, fun dude to be around and hang with. It's tough. It'd be tough to pick just two more from my five, but I'd probably pick Timmy Gill. He was a good pro when I first started playing some of the bigger tournaments, and I just liked his demeanor on the course and the way he carried himself, and he was fun to watch. He actually hit a duck once and got an ace too, so that's pretty cool.
Wow.
And then my fourth, to round out my fivesome, maybe Logan Harpool. Not
There you
Logan
go.
so much Logan Harpool now, but Logan Harpool in 3 or 4 years when he's had more time out on the tour and has established himself a little bit more, because I like listening to his stories. I think that if he didn't leave Kansas to go play, he would be the king of Kansas. In my mind, the best player we have in the state.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great shout out on Logan. He was our first ever guest on the podcast. Awesome dude, awesome story. Really has been so much fun seeing the success he's had this year, getting on some lead cards, all of the things he's done. So, yeah, that's awesome. That's a really good answer. Next question we got for you comes from Travis Bailey. Are you more for professional tour events with more regulations and standards, or want to take disc golf back to a casual zone, and why? He goes on to say, personally, I'd like to see the sport get a bit more professional and, quote, stuffy, end quote, if that is what brings the money in. What are your thoughts, Chris?
I think you can find either one, whatever floats your boat. We have that luxury now that if you want to just have a laid-back tournament where you can do whatever you want and, play without your shirt on, if that's your thing, you can find those. If you want, like he said, a stuffy tournament, you can find those as well. I think you have to find that happy medium, and I think that's what we have here in Wichita. Our tournaments are straight enough that we abide by the rules, but they're relaxed enough that we're still having a good time, I think. So I think what we have here is what I prefer over the others. But I
can
also
attest.
think there's a time and place for the other two as well.
And I think I have to agree. The Wichita tournaments and stuff do have a very good balance. Everyone's there to win or to compete and have a good time, and also follow the rules and everything, obviously. But no one's like out there just out making everybody mad or saying stuff that's just But it's great, which actually leads me. This is I'm gonna ask one for myself. Yeah, I've seen you kind of comment a few times about the Wichita community, and kind of transitions right away from what we were talking about. But what, from your travels to promoting tournaments back early days of DD to traveling all over the place and playing amateur worlds and all that good stuff, what do you think it is about Wichita's disc golf community that kind of puts it towards? I'll put it towards the top of the list for you.
Yeah, it's up there, man. We've got great players. We've got great courses. We've got, you can play league any night of the week, and sometimes you can play 2 leagues in a day if you wanted. You have those options. We got a great club. They don't get nearly the credit they deserve, but if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have any of the things that we have. They're the driving force behind getting our courses in the ground, keeping them in the ground, working with the city, and that's awesome. I don't think you have that level of organization in a lot of cities. You might have 2 or 3 people, and we kind of have that in town too. We have our organization, our Air Capital Disc Golf Club, and then we have our other little different groups. You have the Colwich Players League, which we do awesome things out there, man. We self-funded 18 holes, and we have Duck has all of his things going down at Clap and Flex, and Oak Park on Wednesdays, and all of that just grows everything that we have here. I hear a lot of people say that we should go for a Worlds, and I think we have the courses to do that. I think we could find the funding to do something like that. I think what we might struggle with is finding people that would have the desire to volunteer their time and make sure everything was, going smoothly. And that would be the toughest part, I think, is staffing something like that. And I listened to your last podcast, and you asked Duck if something like competing against Emporia, if that's something that we could do. And I think the biggest thing is, and I don't know if Duck hit this or not, but if we were to bring in 2,000 people to Wichita, that's a softball tournament or a big soccer tournament. It happens all the time. It would just go unnoticed. But if you bring 2,000 people into Emporia, you're making a huge financial contribution to the city, and those people know it, and those people want to make sure you come back, and they're so welcoming and warm. People here wouldn't even know why you were in town, would be one thing. But yeah, do I think it could happen? I do, and it would take a lot of organization and somebody with a really strong desire to make it happen. It's easy to say, yeah, we could do it, but it would be a chore. I almost think you'd have to hire somebody. I mean, Emporia has Doug Bierkus, and that was his main job for a few years, was to organize the tournaments and run that scene. And as much as everybody in town wants it and would love to do it, it would be a full-time job for somebody to really do it and make it happen the way it needs to happen.
So one more on this subject while we're here, especially for the Wichita folk listening. What you said, we have the courses to be able to do it. What courses come to your mind when thinking about a world championship coming to Wichita?
Pro World Championships, we'd probably have to extend some stuff. Our courses, disc golf technology has outgrown a lot of our courses in town. 10 years ago, people weren't driving every hole at Oak Park. You can go to Oak Park now and you can see people all day long getting easy putts on holes that there's no reason to be able to do that. People can just do it. So yeah, Oak Park is a fantastic course. You'd have to do some tweaking on the design. Right now it is a lot easier for lefties and people with a strong forehand. You can shred that place if you can throw a low burning left to right shot. But Oak is great. Herman Hill doesn't get the love it deserves. Herman Hill is a really good disc golf course. It's got every shot you would ever need. I think it's just maybe the area of town it is. I don't think there's a lot of disc golf people that live there. I don't know why it doesn't get the love it deserves. Colwich is phenomenal, especially now that we have 2 courses. You could combine those 2 into one monster awesome course, and
That'd be so hard.
yeah, oh yeah, it'd be great.
It would be great.
Clap with 2 courses and hopefully a future Houck design, which if we can get John Houck course in town, that would be nuts, man. That guy, his courses they're crazy, and he spends all the time and does all the dirt work and does everything to make it awesome. But what we have now, I played on worse courses in Worlds than that. I played at Cottonwood Falls in a World Championship. Cottonwood Falls is a fun course. It's got a lot of good holes. It's not as good as what we have. So there's that. Yeah, every course we have is great. So
Yeah, I agree. They're all fun. And I just think of a combined championship level East and West Colwich course would be just incredible.
it would be.
It'd be so hard, but it'd be so fun.
Yeah. And nowadays, Worlds is held on 2 or 3 courses. So you could feasibly do it pretty easily between the courses that we mentioned. So
Yeah, I mean, especially if you had a
Right.
Hauk design over at Clapp and they spent 2 rounds over there and 2 rounds of Colwich Safari, I'll call it. Especially so,
Call
yeah,
it
there you
Colwich
go. Colwich
Supreme.
Supreme. Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Well, hey, this has been so much fun. Trent, do you have, hit me with any other questions you got. Yep, go for it.
I got one more. Another one from Chase. He was just rattling off good ones, and we were just talking about courses, so I wanted to get a quick answer on this one. Of all the courses that you've had a hand in designing, redesigning, maintaining, which are you most proud of, and why?
one of my favorite designs is Dodge City Chilton Park. It's just when I lived there, that was where I moved to after that small town. I moved from a town that had very few people on a disc golf course to Dodge City that didn't have a disc golf course. It was one of the worst moves ever. I had to drive to Pratt, which was 60 minutes to play disc golf. I did that for a year, and finally, I just kept bugging the parks department. Like, that guy had to hate me because I would send him emails or call him or go in, and finally convince them they needed a disc golf course. And so I had a whole year to design 9 holes in this park, and I had a basket, and I would just carry that thing and make up holes and write in my little notebook, this is where this hole needs to be. So that original 9 is one of my favorites because I think probably spent the most amount of time there actually designing it. I got to put Camp Hawk up there, although I didn't design Camp Hawk at all. I mean, I did do a few holes and a few pin placements, but when I lived in Newton and was part of that community, I love that course, and I still do love that course. I just don't get there as much as I wish I could, but I just, that's probably my favorite place that I've ever called my home course. Just, I think the people that were in my crew there, and just, if you never played it, you should. It's fun. But I really like where we're going with Millbrook now. I mean, there's so many people that take part in the ownership of that place that it's just awesome, man. Earlier you asked about the baskets and dynamic discs.
Mm-hmm.
We got the same price that anybody else in the world would have got. We didn't get a super good deal on the baskets, but we sold a lot of fundraiser discs that was my initial plan, sell fundraiser discs to fund the thing. But then somebody said, well, I'll buy a hole. And somebody else said, well, I'll buy a hole. So well, let's just try it. And in less than a week, we sold 18 holes. 18 different people wanted to buy a basket. And so now we got these beautiful new baskets, and we have plans of trying to talk to see. I don't know if you guys have been out there and seen the rope on hole 12. It's kind of
I haven't been there yet. It's been a lake.
Yes. Was
Well,
it there
yeah.
for the match play?
probably
Where
was,
it's
yeah.
almost like going to become an island or something like that.
That's
Yeah.
the plan. It's been like it's been a battle between me and the city I'm working with Mike Bailey. He's working with the city. We're trying just to get him to leave a strip of grass to grow
Okay.
taller. And they kept mowing it, so then I painted it, and they mowed my paint off. So then I put out like 500 flags, and they mowed off half of those and weaved around them. So now I put this rope out there, hoping that they'll I think we're winning. I think they went around
There you
last
go.
time. So we've got that, and we're hoping to do an elevated
Yes,
basket
please.
somewhere. Yeah, we want to maybe do it on we're kind of talking either hole 17 so that you see it when you get out of your car, or we'd also like the idea of doing it on 14 so that when people are driving by on 119th, they look over
Yeah.
and see,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool, they're doing something. So that,
And you would do like not to the grand extreme of like Eagles Crossing,
No.
but some kind of cool
You're gonna-
structure.
only if you want to fund it will we do Eagles Crossing.
Well, not like that big, but like something that like makes it obvious that it's
Yeah, it'll be big.
not just like on a pole.
It'll be
Yeah.
bigger for sure, and we actually have some bricks like the ones they used at Colwich. We have access to some of those, but we want to do it right. We want to make sure that it doesn't, because you're gonna have to climb up on it to get
Yeah.
your disc. And we want to make sure
Right.
that it's not falling apart and whatever. So that'll require, a little bit of work. And then Mike thinks we can talk the city into helping us out with some dirt work. Maybe have another elevated basket on a mound so you get some roll offs and things like that.
Hey, I'll say I'm a big fan of elevated
cool.
baskets. I harp on Trent all the time. I'm like, man, if we can get a course with like 2 or 3 elevated baskets, like, maybe one every like 8-ish holes. Man, that is perfect. Interesting greens. It makes the game. It makes it so much more fun when you have an interesting green, roll away possibilities, all of those things, instead of it being there's no danger. It does not matter. It's the same exact putt every single time. It just adds another level to course design that I'm a massive fan of it. Okay, this has been such a fun discussion. Let's jump into the ace round real quick. These are the same 5 questions we ask all of our guests. Understand a little bit about them. Here's some awesome stories, some disc recommendations. Trenton, start us off. We're on the tee of 1. What's the first question we got?
You are taking a beginner to get their first discs. What putter, mid, and driver are you recommending?
Putter-wise, I'm just going to have them fill several putters and just see what feels good to them. Putting is probably the most important part of the game, but whatever feels good, and most of the time you're just throwing it 30 feet, so they pretty much all fly the same, I feel like. Mid-range, I'm going to probably ask them, I'm probably going to try to hook them up with a Truth, an EMAC Truth maybe, something fairly neutral that they can use. Driver-wise, probably a Vandal. Dynamic Disc Vandal, I think, for a beginner. If they're going to be a backhand thrower, probably a Vandal. If they're going to try to flick maybe a Trespass or something along those lines.
Yeah, those are 3 good ones.
I like all of those.
Second question we have for you. What is the favorite course you have played and one course you have not played but would maybe like to cross off your bucket list at some point?
I'm a big fan of Waterworks in Kansas City. That's always fun to go there and throw up and down the hills. Bucket list course, probably Yarva, or one of those European courses for sure.
What is one tip you would tell your beginner self knowing what you know now?
Oh, it's okay to throw sidearm. That's what I would tell the first tournament, Smitty. And if you can throw from both sides of your body, you have an advantage over a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's easier to get a disc to do what it wants to do.
Very true. Fourth question. What is your favorite memory playing disc golf?
Knocking King Climo out of Final 9.
Figured that was going to be the answer. That's a pretty good
that
one.
Would be. That'd be like you or me somehow getting on the same course with like Ricky or Paul, and somehow it would have to be doubles, and me making a putt or something to get him out of the game. I don't know. That would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, you guys.
So that's definitely. No, definitely.
Maybe if they gave
good,
us like 27 mulligans, if we had an entire round and a half, maybe, just maybe, we'll only lose by 9 at that point.
Right. All right. What is the biggest mistake you see new players make?
Trying to throw too far or too hard. So, and a lot of times new players are sidearm players, it seems like, and they'll just grab a really overstable disc and torque it over as hard as they can and let it flex and come back instead of actually learning how to throw it with good technique.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I just gave a coworker of mine, him and his kids are going to start going out to play, and I tried to give them the most neutral stuff I could. And I was like, hey, man, if those aren't working for you, let me know. We can work through what you need. But start off with that neutral stuff. Don't rely on the disc to go a certain direction because it's just going to break your form and then the habits you build, and it's going to be so much harder to break out of it. But I think that was a great answer. I think this was a fantastic episode, Smitty. I know I had a lot of fun, got to learn a whole lot from you. Where can people continue to connect with you, learn more about your journey, check out the Hyzernauts? Where can people do that at?
Well, I have Instagram. Smitty19983, Facebook, of course, Chris Smith. That's about it. I don't do any of the other stuff. I'm too old for that. So
yeah, if you do check it out, he's got some awesome stamped plastic on almost not every brand, but Trilogy, and then you get Discraft. And do you get anything else?
Oh yeah, I got Prodigy
Nice.
today. That stuff
Prodigy?
that I showed today was Prodigy. That's my first time trying that. Their plastic looks really cool, man. They got some.
Right.
The Spectrum plastic looks really good. I've got some Millennium coming in tomorrow. I pretty much have it all. I'm trying to get MVP, but they don't have anything on their order form ever.
Right. Well, all I got to say is check him out on Facebook and Instagram. You'll see some really cool stamps, some really cool designs, and he'll hook you up.
Yeah. Come to an Air Capital Disc Golf Club or championship event and just actually talk to me. You don't have to lurk on social media.
Yeah, very true. All right, well, hey, thanks for listening, everyone. This was a fantastic episode. Make sure you're subscribed to us over on Patreon so that way you can join us on a podcast as well. And make sure you're hitting that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us at so you never miss another episode. With that, for Trenton and Smitty, we will see you guys next week.